You went to
blah blah
private
blah.
school, Bronx blogger?
For most of my, but it was because I got in for what do you call it, for grades and stuff.
I don't believe that. I think that you come from upper middle class background, buddy.
No,
Yeah, I think
no,
so.
no. My dad has some money, but that wasn't prioritized for me.
Oh, your dad has some money, huh? How much money?
Well, he
Like, is
was in
it?
advertising.
He's in
He was like a
advertising.
fucking basically like a middle class suburbanite type. But it's I
So
lived
you're
here,
upper
and
middle
what matters
class.
is
You're like
no, not
Ocasio
me. I wasn't.
Cortez.
No, no. I was. Well, she had the same problem that there were issues with her parents not being of the same economic standing and stuff, and so I mean, I got raised poor. It didn't matter how much money my dad had.
See,
That
see,
just
see.
because you're one of
Ocasio
your
Cortez grew up in the Yorktown Heights, right? I
no.
grew up
I
in
grew up in
I grew up in Yorktown
I grew up
Heights.
in the
Okay.
Bronx, my man. I grew up
Yeah.
every year of my
Which
life. I've lived in
part
the Bronx.
of the Bronx? What's
New
what's
Yankee
that?
Stadium, the South Bronx,
No, what's the part of that of the Bronx that's like upscale, like Lakeside,
Riverdale.
Riverdale,
I could never afford to live there. Riverdale, no.
Riverdale. You're not from Riverdale, are
I,
you?
no, I grew up near Yankee Stadium. You can Google it. It was shit. It was a
Yeah.
shit
Well,
show in the
Riverdale is
'80s.
close to Yankee Stadium too. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, Jesus, it's 2.5 hours away from Yankee Stadium.
No, because
Bronx is a big place.
no, it's not that fucking big. No, come on, don't shit a shitter.
Take the
Okay.
D train. Take the D train from 161 and River Ave up to with all the bus transfers and stuff you have to do to get to Riverdale. It'll take you over 2 hours. Public transit. I don't mean driving. I don't know what driving is. I don't do it.
Okay, fine. If you want to go that route and spout
Yeah,
bullshit, fine, fine.
commuting is really long. Like you're talking about the east side of a borough to the west side of a borough. Like it's big.
Yeah, it's not that fucking
But
big.
no,
Okay.
I grew up, and there's
No,
even
it's
my
not.
Catholic
It's
school is right
not.
near Yankee
I lived
Stadium.
in New York City too. Okay, it's not that fucking big. Okay, going from one end of the borough to the other is not going to take you what on the subway? What, 30 minutes tops? You can get to from JFK.
You've been to
JF,
Manhattan. Have you been in the Bronx?
JFK to Midtown Manhattan takes 35 minutes. Okay, I did it
How?
last week. Okay, so don't give me bullshit. Okay.
You were in a car or you on transit?
No, I was on the subway from Jamaica Station to Rockefeller Plaza.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different. I mean, we're not talking
Oh,
about
that's
Midtown. We're
different.
talking
Yeah.
about,
Okay. Sure. Sure.
you know,
That's fine. So you're a upper middle class boy, and you're slumming it. You
no,
know, working as for the city, right?
no.
Tell us more.
I'm the same. I haven't ascended my economic station since I was a young person. Like I've
Why
basically
not?
been lower middle class.
Why
I don't
not?
know, man. Like I just didn't do it. I didn't have an opportunity.
You didn't have the opportunity? I find that hard to believe. Somebody as smart, as articulate as you, obviously smart, obviously articulate. You're on the show. I mean, we're shooting the shit now. I find that hard to believe. What was the real
I
reason?
got into a major university. I just didn't have the money. I didn't have the money, and my dad wasn't real
Oh,
willing to put the
which
money up.
major
So
university?
Penn State.
Penn State? Yeah, they can put together a financial aid package.
No, I didn't qualify for it.
You didn't qualify for it. Oh, I find that hard to believe.
Nope, because I was listed as a dependent of my dad's, but my dad wasn't going to help me with anything, so it didn't matter. So I was too much as his dependent, but too little in terms of my own pocket. So I couldn't cover the difference.
Oh, I so don't believe you. I so don't believe you.
There's no reason. There's no reason for me to bullshit you. There's no
Yeah,
reason for me
there
to
is
bullshit you.
because it explains the
Why?
failure of your life. You can say, "Oh, it was the man who did it. Oh, it was the capitalism that did it. It's not me that
I didn't
did
say
it."
any of that stuff.
Yeah,
I
you're
got no.
implying
I
it.
didn't say any
That's
of
what you're
that.
implying. You're implying that
I
capitalism
could.
fucked you over, and that's why you're a communist.
I could have done. I could have done other things. I could have gotten more higher education or whatever.
Then
But
why
that doesn't
didn't
mean
you?
anything in this day and age.
Why didn't
Most
you?
of the neets you meet online, Sinatra. Do you have a college degree?
I don't even have a high school diploma.
Oh.
I have a GED.
The majority of the people on these Chan boards have fucking master's degrees from Columbia, so that's what it's worth these days.
Yeah, so
I got a GED and I'm doing okay.
I didn't invent this. I'm just saying, wouldn't you agree that the most important thing is to keep the conversation going for the audience? You 90 minutes of fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Come on.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
Riverside
yeah.
blogger.
Neat.
Riverdale.
Riverdale blogger.
Riverdale.
Oh man! Yeah, actually, I was just talking to somebody from Riverdale, a friend from publishing. You know, we had dinner, we had a lovely dinner, and yeah, she was telling me all about Riverdale. That she had like discovered this, you know, because you know she had been living in Manhattan and it was so goddamn expensive and all the rest of it, so she decided to slum it in Riverdale, and she thought it was delightful.
Oh, it's an enclave. It's definitely it's a beautiful enclave. But to her, what's cheap is expensive to me. The rent on a one bedroom up there is still like $2,500 money.
$2,500
for someone like me. That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you're
it's a lot of money for me,
work
dude.
For the city, man, you're rich.
$2,500 is still a lot. I mean, again, I'm like lower middle class, dude. I make less than 50 grand a year, so I can't pay $2,500 a month of rent.
Yeah, but how much overtime are you taking in?
Quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly, and so that'll bump you up above 50 grand, I bet. Your base.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put myself in liability like that of like, oh, you know, now I have to work so and so number of hours beyond my regular thing. Even though, you know, look, the best thing about these civil service jobs is that they have to give you OT and stuff like that. So, you know, I advise anyone that wants to join a union.
Yeah, of course. Fuck over the rest of us. Yeah, because when the collapse happens, you know, it'll be because of the pension of people like you. That's what's going to collapse the system.
I'd say all the money that went out the back door of the Fed in the last 10 years is probably going to collapse the system. My pension is relatively small compared to all that stuff.
Your pension, sure, but collectively, all these government employees. I mean, Illinois is broke. Chicago is broke. And it's going to get really fucking nasty in the short term.
You could imply they could put all the austerity they want. That won't create growth. It'll just create contraction. You know, basic capitalism. Consumers have to have money in their pockets in order for capitalism to actually move. If you take all the money away from people, poor people aren't going to make economic growth. Just the vultures that come in and liquidate all the assets. That's short-term growth. 10 years after, you'll be Venezuela. I'm jealous. I mean, you know, people bitch about my audio quality.
Where's
That's
your
the
boy
one thing
Tonka? Send him the link. Get him on here. The Royal Rumble's over. Get him on.
How dare you? How dare you? Don't you? Don't you?
Drummer,
don't you
get him on?
Get Dog
He's
on
talking
here.
to me.
The
He's
Rumble's
talking
over.
to me.
Blogger, can you, Bronx, can you get him on?
I can reach Tonka, but I don't think he's gonna want to come on.
I thought y'all were joking.
Reach out to him.
They
reach
would
out
be
to
friends.
Donka.
Oh no, me and Tonka are friendly, but you know, I don't want he's not in the mode right now to do this stuff.
No. Reach out. You know, it's just a question. You know, worst can happen. He says no. That's the worst. So why don't you reach out to him?
Okay, I'll send him something on Discord. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
There's zero chance he'll come on, by the way, but
yeah.
I've been accused of mic cucking before. I don't control my own levels.
Okay.
I just have a big booming voice. I think people sort of mistake the volume of my voice for
it's the big booming voice of somebody who was raised upper middle class. Yeah. Confident and sure of himself like fucking Lenin. Yeah, and willing to kill off everybody, you know? Yeah.
No. Who said I've never advocated violence? I've never advocated violence. You can check all my tweets, you can check all my videos.
Not yet.
No.
Lenin didn't either until he came to power.
Well, Lenin lived in a different era. I mean, we don't, you know, I'm not confronting royalty or anything like that. I mean, you know, everyone's politics will eventually lead to violence in some sense, either in self-defense or offense. In order to preserve the existing order, even liberals have to eventually find, you know, default to violence.
Isn't it weird that you're basically, you're an upper middle class kid who basically turned his back on his class position and settled for a job with the city and in lower middle classdom, as you claim, even though your income is actually like middle or lower upper middle class, right? But isn't it weird that, you know, you're basically calling for revolution when you could have been part of the oligarchy? You know, you want to you want the downfall of the people you could have belonged to. Isn't that kind of weird?
I think it takes more moral courage to turn away from privilege than to embrace it and use it as a lever to,
But isn't it true that you didn't really turn away from it, but rather just, you know, just like decided, oh, it's just too much work and hassle and just work at the city, just hang out and shoot the shit and do my videos and be on live streams while I'm on the clock to the city? I mean, isn't that really what's going on?
I mean, look, man, if you ever, and again, I've had office jobs before. I worked for the ACLU years ago. and just what an office job was like. Those jobs are not as hard as people sort of portend them to be. Like just because you do 80 hours a week in an office doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing a bunch of complicated stuff. Like it's. I don't know, man. There are complex layers to it. I didn't have a great relationship with my dad, and it's not exactly. I think if I like here's what I will say. I think if I liked my dad more, my choices would have been different.
Oh,
I think I would have been proud to like. Yeah. Sorry.
How so?
Well, I mean, I would have been. When you love your dad, you want to take up the mantle. Like, of course. Like you love your dad, you want to follow in the footsteps. To me, that wasn't appealing.
So if you loved your dad, you would have made like Beachbody Ready advertising.
No, my dad worked for like Campbell and all those. Like my dad worked for big advertising stuff, and he wanted me to do all that stuff, but I just.
Yeah, so you would have done the Beachbody Ready ads, right?
No, my dad did Spanish language advertising.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Latin America, South America.
Uh-huh.
He did he created that family of Joe Camel. In Latin America they have a family of Joe Camel. They obviously don't have it anymore, but back in the day they had a whole family of Joe Camels.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he worked on that. He worked on a couple of things. He won some awards, and my dad did okay for himself, but that's not my path.